Natalia is a cloud security architect. She specializes in AWS, Azure, GCP, OCI, all the cloud platforms, basically. So this talk covers the essentials of launching a career in cloud security. We're going to discuss the different possible career paths, including latest job market trends, and briefly touch on some differences in key concepts between cloud and on-premise solutions. So that includes encryption, access controls, compliance. There's some bonus materials too, which are recommendations for free training and an overview of beginner level cloud certifications. All right, and with that, I'll turn it over to Natalia. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And there was already an introduction, and I know many of you have probably attended another session with a very similar name at 10. Maybe who has attended the session? No, at 9, right? There was a session about career. So who has attended it? Okay. So I will try not to repeat that much. Let's start with an introduction. So I was born and raised in Finland, and after graduation from school I have studied in the University of Germany, and I got my PhD in mathematics. And after this I returned to Finland and worked in cybersecurity research division of Nokia until it was acquired by Microsoft. And after this, I started working in cybersecurity consulting. So I worked with some clients, not in-house. I worked for Deloitte. Later, I worked for Microsoft, also in consulting as a cybersecurity incident responder. Then I moved to Canada, where I am residing right now. Anybody from across the ditch here came from Canada? Oh, okay. So we do have cybersecurity in Canada as well, just in case. Yes, so I worked as a cloud security architect at Mercedes. I got some exposure to cloud security consulting in Google, and currently I work for NVIDIA as a security architect. So that's my path. You can see I have experienced different aspects of cybersecurity career, but the important part is do not look too much at me, because I started my journey like almost 20 years ago. I'm that old. So back when I started, nobody even asked for CSSP or some other like 4 or 5 letters like OCSP, whatever you have. Azure didn't exist. So right now you have to get some ICS Square fancy certificate out of the box, even for entry-level position. But there is not everything that is bad, so do not get that easily discouraged, because more businesses right now recognize the need for a dedicated security staff. Before it was like you are an admin, you are help desk, and you are a network engineer, and somewhere on the side you can also do some security if you like. Then, because there are more specialists in cybersecurity, you can get some mentorship, advice, guidance more easily. Because back in my days, I wouldn't go to Bruce Schneier and ask, Bruce, can you please tell me how do I work with all this? Probably not. So now it's easier thanks to LinkedIn and communities and the amount of free training available. So what is it about starting career in cybersecurity? So you need some kind of plan. Maybe it will look like this picture, but anyway, some kind of plan. First of all, you need to select which area of cybersecurity you want to work in, because it's not like a single specialty, but rather lots of like dozens of different professions. So once you have selected, you can get some training, and important, you can also get a job, because that is why you have started it in the first place. You build a relationship with your peers, colleagues, managers. then you're getting noticed and recognized, and finally you get a fancier job, or maybe go like solopreneur, whatever is closer to you. So how do you start? I don't have such a fancy matrix of certifications like the first presenter. I get a simpler table, so you can see that in a nutshell all the jobs in cyber can be divided into like 3 categories. There are technical, there are non-technical, there are mostly like legal. So I would say mostly legal and compliance, auditors working with government and so on. And then there are finally academical, so that is how I started. So when I was working as a mathematician, I taught mathematics and I had specialty with cryptography. And I moved from the academical, so the very far right column, to the technical. Or maybe now I'm like a little bit in the middle, like security consultants and architects. I placed them specifically here between 2 pillars. And you can see that there are many entry points to cybersecurity. Everything that is marked by a green check mark can be attempted by somebody with, let's say, general interest into cybersecurity and somebody who is willing to do some at least free training. So the key here is that you must be willing to train. And you always need to understand that it's not always about how, so not the amount of information you can put in your head in a certain period of time, but also like why. I've been a hiring manager for Mercedes, and I've been interviewing people at Microsoft and Google, and sometimes you interview some intern and you ask, why do you want to work in cybersecurity? And sometimes they cannot even answer. Sometimes people tell, hey, but I watched this hacker movie and it looks cool and I also want, but it's not about this. It's quite boring, and there are like good days and bad days. And sometimes you feel like, hey, when everything is working, nobody knows I exist. Something doesn't work, we have a breach. Next day you have this breach in all the newspapers and you are to blame. So they only come for you when they want to say something bad about you. Except for days like today, when I'm surrounded by peers and I can relax, and yeah, so today is a good day. So entry-level salaries, because if we speak about really entry-level positions, they are unfortunately not very good paid, especially where the like cybersecurity analysts of the first level. But we will come back to this about salary comparison. Yes, because there is lots of job to do. Imagine you are one cybersecurity professional and there are some indefinite amount of hackers that want to hack the system, and because they are all around the globe, they never sleep and you have to sleep. If you don't sleep, you go to the burnout. So you should always remember this. So getting back to, I have selected some amount of entry-level positions with pros and cons for each. Of course, it's like my opinion. If you have like different opinion, comment. We can discuss it afterwards. So let's start with the penetration tester, because when people talk about cybersecurity, they imagine that kind of a hacker that breaks into things. For good or bad, but we will be speaking about lawful hackers, so-called white hats or blue teamers. So there is plenty of training available. Most of it was already mentioned today in the morning. So like try hack me, hack the box. For certain tools you have tool-specific training like Burp Suite. Then you have a certification. There are some cheaper certificates. And there are very expensive certificates like SANS. I do not have any SANS certificate because it's a training and certificate is over $10,000. So unless some company pays for me, I'm not going there. Yep. So this is like a fancy profession, but everything that's related to this, it's very competitive. So unless you are really good learning with really good technical basis, most probably you would be stuck in this very, very lower sector for a long time. So that is something you have to understand. And but the good thing, for at least for me, that this profession requires the least amount of social skills apart from social engineering. So you don't have to go and talk with the customers every day. There is usually some kind of manager that handles it for you. So if you don't like spending your time with people every day, that is probably something for you. Then there is another profession, security analyst, which is sometimes referred as SecOps, so security operations, or some people say it's OPSEC, operational security. So that is somebody at level 1 who watches over the logs or some kind of aggregation of system logs and tries to understand if there is something malicious going on. And if something malicious is going on, then most level 1 people just forward it to the next level for more detailed investigation. And that's your career ladder. You get from level 1 to up to level 3 or 4. So depending on the size of the company, you can have multiple layers of security analysts. So as I already mentioned, the entry level salary here may be very low. So sometimes you wonder, I could be flipping burgers for that price. But the good thing is that you can relatively quickly move 1 or 2 levels up, and then it becomes more competitive. Another thing is that you attend any security conference that deals with business. Almost every company now offers something AI that replaces the level 1 SOC analysts with a different degree of success. So now it's the same with junior developers, that you have some AI that is able to browse through logs really quickly and try to find some incident here. So you must be ready to prove your value, that you're actually better than this. Yes, for this specialty, there is lots of free training available. Sometimes you can work remotely. And for the very entry level, you need to learn significantly less than for penetration tester. That is something, the profession I'm very good familiar with. I have been working as a security consultant for many years. Just security consultant or cloud, so you do not work for just one company. You go to the customers and you're trying to fix their problems, and you have very limited time. The bad thing about this is that, yes, the time is limited, so you come to the customer, you try to recommend them to do something, but you cannot control it. So you go away from the customer, and after 1 year, you see they were breached because they didn't implement what you were recommending. So it's kind of, if you are a result-oriented person, it can be dissatisfying at some point. So it requires lots and lots and lots of soft skills. So you need to identify key stakeholders, you need to convince them to do your recommendations. So it's, I would say it's like 50-50, 50 technical, 50 soft skills, unlike the first two, the SOC analyst and the penetration testing. But it has its own benefits. So usually consultants are significantly better paid than pure technical people. usually you don't have to pick up so much tech skills at the very beginning, and also you have possibilities to develop your career into the more managerial position, so even less tech, and you can become self-employed if you already know the customers. You can just work for them on a contract without this middle layer of some consulting company. And I believe that, so finally we have cloud security engineer, which is sometimes referred like DevSecOps specialist or application security specialist. So this is more technical version of security consultant. And usually security engineers come not from zero, but rather from either developers or operation engineers. So those who know how to run Kubernetes, those who know how to run those developer tools. So I would say it's not exactly entry level, a little bit harder, but the borderline entry level. So this profession is also usually a bit better paid because it is more specialized. And another bonus from it is that the hot topic of machine learning, AI, and so on, it really depends on security, so on this DevSecOps, basically, because machine learning algorithm is an algorithm. So it's something that's being developed. Add on this the skills of data management, and you are this fancy ML SecOps, which gets paid very well. And with like 2-3 years experience, you will be right now just fine and not that much competition. So the question is more rhetorical: to cloud or not to cloud. So for most of those professions that are mentioned, it is strongly recommended to learn some cloud. So if you're entry level, do not try to learn all the clouds at once. You will just get stuck and overwhelmed. So my recommendation is to select one of the major providers. So anything out of them goes. The difference that I have noticed as somebody who has certifications from all three, and on top of this I have also Oracle certification, that Azure gives you opportunity to get free entry-level cloud certifications for free quite often. So I would say like maybe every quarter there is some campaign that you complete some lab challenge, a set of lab challenges, and then you are getting an exam. Limitation: you cannot pass more than one exam more than every 6 months. But over the year you can accumulate lots of certificates, and good thing is that recertification is every 2 years and it's for free. So you don't have to do anything. For AWS, it's not that simple, so they almost never offer you anything for free. They give you 50% discount most of the time. But the training is also for free. But once you're certified, again, every 2 years you have to renew it and you have to pay again. So it's a little bit expensive to maintain. And finally, Google, which is now running up to both two providers, also quite rarely gives you those free training opportunities. But the good thing is that you get an immense amount of swag for every professional certification. So you get your certificate, and in a couple of weeks you get that kind of box with whatever clothing. I think there are even hammocks whatsoever. But yeah, so usually for starters I would recommend Azure or AWS, as it's right now more in demand. So that's for the, let's say, like technical part. And now, as you're progressing on career journey, it's important to start right. So not only like what you are doing for your career, but how. So first of all, do not get discouraged, because at the beginning of your journey, it's very easy to get discouraged. Because you are seeing all those posts on LinkedIn, like in the morning there was this post, hey, I have 21 interviews in 7 weeks and I got an offer. Well, I mean, maybe, I mean, you can also write such things on LinkedIn, but who can prove it? So sometimes you get your interviews, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have to reiterate your CV for, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes 6 months. Sometimes you need to come back over and over again to select maybe a little bit different paths. So you started in consulting, you realize that consulting is not your sweet spot. Maybe you want to go more technical, maybe you want to go less technical. So there is nothing to be ashamed of. So do not automatically label yourself as a failure just because the first path you selected turned out to be not for you. Just not for you. There are still like a dozen of other paths. So essential is to find some kind of a support group. So it can be, let's say, women in cyber or some kind of community in cyber. And essential is also to find some mentor or somebody who can advise you. And okay, I switched 2 slides. So about the mentor. So first of all, there are lots of free mentorship programs available. The drawbacks of those that I got experience with is that the mentor cannot select their mentees, and mentees cannot select their mentors. So you get those random assignments, and sometimes you realize that you're just on a different career trajectory, so it's not that much that you can advise to this person. And switching mentors-mentee link in the middle of a mentorship program is also not the best idea, I would say. So alternative to this would be to find your individual mentor. You can ask nicely, let's say on LinkedIn, but like be proactive, and if you have something particular to ask from your mentor, so ask a particular question, not like, can you please be my mentor? Because I'm getting lots of those messages on LinkedIn, and I'm like, but what do you want from me in particular? I don't know. So yeah, and if you get some kind of internship and get some help from colleagues in the terms of mentorship, that would be like ideal. Sorry. So about training, I already said, lots of training available. If you got a mentor, just tell them maybe you need some help with selecting proper training. They can see your weak sides and strong sides, and they maybe can advise you. If you don't find a mentor, at least join some meetups, local cybersecurity chapters. Even my local Toronto library runs some cybersecurity groups, so you can even join this. And also, if you are prone to some kind of procrastination and postponing everything, that's mutual body checkup system is very valuable. So you are responsible to checking on your body how the training is going, and they are responsible for you. And almost the last thing, getting noticed. So at the same time when you start your career, and often always in high school, start taking care of your LinkedIn page, because right now I would say there is a very little alternative to promoting yourself as a professional other than LinkedIn. Because even if you have a personal blog, you need to attract visitors there somehow. But on LinkedIn, you are there, you can write something to your blog, and you can just post those articles and link, and you get some visitors. So take care, keep it up to date, connect to the relevant people you meet on the conferences, engage in some respectful, meaningful discussions. If you get some certifications added, because it increases your chances to be noticed by the recruiters or maybe even hiring managers. And because most of my latest positions I got through networking, I didn't apply. So either through LinkedIn or through personal connections. So this is important. So make sure that job finds you and you don't have to run and search for the job. And hopefully with this you will be able to get your first job. And important thing here is that when you're starting with a job, if you have some issues, do not be shy to raise them with your manager. If you feel like you need accommodations, don't be shy to ask for it, because we are all different people. Some of are like so-called neurotypical, others are neurodivergent, some needs headphones to isolate themselves, or completely like quiet rooms. And if you believe that will help your productivity, just don't be shy, ask for it. Don't wait until management will just raise the question, why you're so unproductive. You don't want to wait for it. And okay, the last point. So, as I said, your goal is to develop yourself into this nice master from the Baby Yoda. So if you don't take care, if you don't protect yourself from burnout, from overworking, you would rather become one of those guys, and you don't want. Because nobody likes them, and nobody wants to work with them, and that will stagnate your career in the end. So take care of yourself. If you get enough sleep, take care what you eat, and don't be afraid to say no if your workload becomes really unmanageable. And already mentioned imposter syndrome. After all, it's a good thing if you limit it, because it stimulates you to learn. But don't let it eat yourself. So I guess that is what I wanted to say. So if you have any questions to me about anything?
Are there any specifics? Are there any specific certs that you would recommend starting out with, like for Azure or AWS?
So Azure has lots of starter level certifications. So absolutely beginner is 900 series. So there are I think Azure Security Fundamentals or Azure Fundamentals. You can start with those. It's relatively easy to get the certification voucher for free. You just need to monitor. Sometimes Microsoft gives vouchers as a part of online Microsoft Build. Or some kind of cloud challenges. I think it's called Azure Cloud Challenge. You have like 30 days to complete something, and then you get a voucher code per post. So start from this beginning, and sometimes there are more advanced certifications like 200 or 300 on giveaway, but it's relatively rare. So if there are some people on LinkedIn who are reposting this, sometimes you are lucky to see it in your news feed, or just keep in contact with your local Azure user group or whatever it's now called, some Microsoft lab, to get them. With AWS, as I said, it's a bit more complicated, so maybe you want to invest like a couple of $100 in it if you want to select AWS. But once you are getting the first certification from AWS, you are getting every subsequent one with 50% discount if your certification is active. But also AWS doesn't have this granularity. So for Azure, you have like identity and access management certified. You have security analyst specified. You have some DevSecOps certified. For AWS, you have AWS practitioner, AWS architect, AWS security. So that's it. So it's like broader coverage. So maybe if you want to have this like bomb coverage, you go with AWS and get the security. Did I answer your question?
Pretty much. I wasn't sure. Like I forget like what AWS's or their levels were, and I thought Microsoft kind of did away with their verification on like what certifications to get. You know what I mean? Like Azure, I thought had the 900, and then they had like a couple other levels, and then they kind of split off. And then I couldn't remember what AWS is, cloud practitioner.
Yes, practitioner, then architect, and then you have this security or DevOps specializations. So it's less granular than compared to Azure. But Azure is good when you have when you want to work in like identity and access management, let's say. AWS is better when you want to work with developers, so closer to AppSec, from my experience. Yeah, you had a question?
Yeah, just real quickly, I know that a lot of people, especially in cybersecurity, tend to try to do as much as possible so that they can kind of jump in or get promoted and move along. How do you think that, or how would you recommend that practitioners could avoid burnout, minimize burnout, or potential burnout?
So I would say regulate your workload. So set realistic goals. So over the time you know that this task takes you approximately that time. So it's a bit hard to get when you are in the beginning of your career. So that's why this mentorship is important. But then you already know, and always remember that like health and mental well-being is something that's your basis, because if you lose it, then you will eventually like damage your career. So you have to take care of it. And sometimes it's necessary to change a job because the manager is just taking care of deadlines. Unfortunately, it is so. So don't get this imposter syndrome telling you that you have to work 48 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, how do you find a mentor on LinkedIn or anywhere? Like, just search for any random security person in the company?
I would say random, no. But if you're already working and you want to switch to cyber, you may find somebody from cybersecurity team, and especially if you are working like in parallel. Let's say you are a developer and there is security team, and you say, hey, what about we launch some security champion for our DevOps? I'm volunteering.
Okay. Yeah, so, like,
and usually the people are quite helpful in most of the companies, and they may provide you some resources and some advice. Another thing is when you are not employed, you're a student, then you're trying to join some chapters like OWASP chapter. Events like this BSides are also open for people with all backgrounds. And then you get your connections and you see who is. So important that the mentor should stand not like 5 steps of career above you. Because for me, sometimes people come and ask, and I understand I don't perceive their reality in the same way. So I have to go to somebody who I already mentored and who is now employed and ask them to mentor this other person because they are fresher. So they are standing 1 or 2 steps above the mentee.
What's your opinion on how long you should stay at a job so you don't look like a job hopper?
It really depends, because there are things like layoffs, we all know. There are things like just toxic management. I would say if you realize that your management is absolutely hopeless and just micromanaging you, it's better to go sooner than later. If your concerns are mostly about, let's say, salary or something, then it is negotiable in most of cases. But usually nobody looks when you change job like every maybe 2 to 3 years. So that's considered quite normal in IT and in cybersecurity as well.
I just want to add a couple of comments that I think tie into the rest of this as well, because I've hired a bunch of junior level people relatively recently, and I'll tell you that the couple of things that I've looked at is if people know their learning style, know how you best process the information, and know what you're interested in, because a lot of these technologies are changing so quickly that finding an expert in this is next to impossible. So what we're looking for is people who are self-motivated, who know how to learn, that we can either teach or train. So rather than focusing on these specific technologies, figure out yourself how you best learn and what is of interest to you. Because the worst thing possible is for someone to say like, oh, I want you to learn endpoint security, and you being like, I hate this. This is miserable. So find the things that you don't like, find things that are more interesting to you, find things that speak to you, and be open to those opportunities, because you never know where that's going to end up taking you. So that would be what I look for when I'm looking for junior level people, is people who know what they're interested in, even if they don't know exactly what it is. But if you can tell me some ideas of what you're interested in and how you learn so that I can help you grow, those are the type of people I'm looking to hire.
Yes, and also I would notice that some people are better at those interview answering questions, and some people are not very good at speaking. So if you see that the person is struggling, as a hiring manager, I usually try alternative approach. So I may ask if they have some kind of home lab. Maybe they don't speak much, but they can just show me something. And in this situation, I ended up hiring very good people who brought great value to the company. Even so, as an interview, so they were not able to answer almost any question because they were so anxious, or I don't know, so they were like, yes, but turned out to be great specialists. And it would be a shame for me as a hiring manager if I wasn't adaptable and I say, hey, it's not talkable, just next, please.
So in your slides, it was mentioned that AI is affecting security analyst role. Is it affecting other roles as well, or like have you seen this happening in the industry nowadays that AI is affecting? And if it is, then does it make sense to get into generative AI or AI in cybersecurity?
So it's all the time the double-edged sword. So AI helps to automate lots of tasks. So for example, this CTF that is going on, I was able to answer at least 5 of its questions using AI, just like in 2 seconds. So in that sense, yes, it goes after entry-level specialists. But on the other hand, it creates lots of troubles and requires cybersecurity specialist overview. So starting from people posting some confidential company data in ChatGPT, which is very hard to prevent, ending some developers use this Copilot to develop code and introduce very banal vulnerabilities. And in that way, that another AI scanner is not detecting them. So you really have to have this human supervision. You have to understand the weaknesses and the strengths of AI. But do not, so I would say right now advise it, do not put too much effort into learning some routine operations or into memorizing too much stuff. Like some exams like CSSP or even this certified in cybersecurity require you to memorize all the ports, like port 80 HTTP, then 443 HTTPS, so you don't need it anymore. AI will take care. Yeah, and so there is still lots of opportunities, I would say. So never give up.
One more question. So if we have to get into cloud security and we are new to cloud as well, so should we first get the practical knowledge of cloud and then get into cloud security? Like, should we go through 2 steps and then jump to cloud security? Like, do some project in cloud practically, and then I should get some certification in cloud security, or how should
I would say yes. First, you learn the objects that you are gonna secure, and then you learn how to secure it.
Okay.
So if you don't know, like, what are you securing?
So pick some random problem and then.
You can. There are lots of again. There are lots of those free labs on Microsoft, on Google, on AWS, where they provide you this free tier access to the cloud. Most of them now require credit card details, but they do not bill you, so you are a free tier, and you can just build some app or something, and there are step-by-step labs, and then you should be good. Anything?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Natalia.
Thank you.